Drew, hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So Drew, what do you do?
So actually, well, I do a lot of things. Currently, I'm a graduate student at New York University in the politics department, but I am heavily involved in the data community here in New York. I run the New York Open Statistical Programming meetup. We have about 1,000 members. I work with a lot of startups in the area trying to work through data problems. So I'm try to stay involved as much as I can in the data community as well as finishing my academic work.
So it was politics?
Yeah, political science.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what kind of data are you munching through? Is it more demographic information or what are you looking through?
So what's interesting, my background before I came to graduate school, I actually worked in the intelligence community in DC for the U.S. government, and I did a lot of work, sort of large-scale data analysis on adversarial groups. So some of that work kind of informs what I do now, and trying to understand, how different groups in the world work. I'm very interested in leadership transition, how new leaders are formed, and then sort of less. On a different side, I also study democracies and elections, and one of the data sets that I'm working with now is trying to understand political speech. So looking at things like Twitter and Facebook and pieces of text that candidates and politicians will put out, how can we quantify what that means ideologically? And there's some really interesting statistics that have developed over the last couple of years on doing that. So me and some colleagues, we work on that as well.
So are the data sets that you're looking at, are they open, or how did you come about them?
On the latter, now all the data that I look at is open. So there's some really interesting work that's been done on some terrorist groups in Southeast Asia about their organization, and that stuff's open. It's made public by the Naval Postgraduate School. In terms of the Twitter data, actually, we write the code to get that data. We've been trying to work with Twitter and work with some other companies that are data resellers to get larger chunks of it, but by and large, up to now, we've been just scraping it ourselves, so that's like the hacker side of my brain trying to get in there and get at the data. And we make the data public whenever possible.
Are you aware of sources like GNIP and things like that?
Yeah, of course. So, I know about GNIP, I know about DataSift, and we've been talking to them, and we're really looking forward to working with them if possible on some of this.
ScraperWiki was also pretty cool.
Yeah. So all those guys, we chat about stuff all the time, and we're just trying to, part of it is they have a motivation for their business, and I have a motivation for sort of academic research, and whenever those two things can cross, it's great, but sometimes it's difficult to make those two things work.
And once you get your data, and once you've made some sense out of it, do you reshare that back out to everyone? Is it available?
For me personally, yes. It's an important part of my mission in my academic work to make sure that everything that I do is fully open, not only the data, but the code and my analysis are fully open so that people can reproduce what I've done, because I don't want people to just believe me for Drew Conway saying, and I want them to be able to then take it, do their own work with it, and maybe do something different and more interesting with it. So yeah, I try to push everything out there. All my academic work is up on GitHub.
So if you could answer any specific problem in the world with data, what would that be?
Wow, that's a really hard one. Yeah. So if I could answer any specific problem in the world, my own personal interest would be understanding radicalization. So I study a lot on that side of the coin. So trying to understand what motivates people to move to be radicalized in one way or the other. And there's a lot of work looking at text, looking at online speech and things like that. And that is a really valuable resource that people are just now sort of getting to and trying to understand for this piece of research, and that's just me personally. But I think there's a whole host of lots of other interesting questions around poverty, around democracy, around literacy that data could really be used for as well.
Data in your political sphere kind of is like a pulse.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, especially now, and even in democracies like America and Western Europe, candidates and political organizations are beginning to recognize this as well. So now you have this interesting dynamic where not only as researchers are we able to analyze it, but as politicians are able to analyze it, and they're using that to their advantage to change marketing tactics, to change political tactics. So it's this interesting cycle that happens, and we're just starting to see now that cycle where the big data thing is now entering into the political candidate mind, and how can they use that to target ads, target fundraising. It's a really interesting time.
Drew, I look forward to seeing your work from NYU, right?
Thanks very much. Good meeting you.
All right, take care.